Good afternoon. As a distinguished professor of computer science and the executive director of the Paul English Applied AI Institute, I'm honored to participate in today's panel. AI in academia, preparing students for a tech-driven world. As AI technologies continue to evolve rapidly, they are reshaping every facet of our personal and professional lives. Here at UMass Boston, we recognize the critical need and then the critical role AI will play, especially in Massachusetts, where over 80% of our students join the local workforce among graduation. In response, we have already begun to integrate AI into our curriculum, focusing not only on technological advancements, but also on social, societal, and ethical and diversity challenges that come with them. Our student body, comprising over 60% first-generation college students and more than 50% from racial and ethical and ethnic minorities, is at the front line of this initiative. Today, let's discuss how we can collaborate to leverage AI for the benefit of all the students. Greg.
Thanks so much, and welcome back to the Globe Summit. My name is Greg Huang. I'm the business editor at the Boston Globe, and I lead our technology coverage. So we're going to dive into this topic of AI in academia and how to prepare students for this tech-driven world and future, which is really the present. So it's a deep topic. Let's dive in. We're joined today by three world experts on research, AI, technology. They come from the biggest companies that you know of. It's IBM, it's Kayak, it's Barclays, it's Yahoo. I'm going to do a quick round of intros just to get on the board, and then let's just dive into the questions. So Grace, if you could start us.
Yeah, my name is Grace Wang. I'm the president of Worcester Polytechnic Institute.
Usama Fayyad. I am the inaugural director of the Institute for Experiential AI at Northeastern University, also a professor in the Curry College for Computer Sciences. I'm chairman of my own company, Open Insights, as well.
Hi, my name is Paul English. I'm an entrepreneur and activist based here in Boston, and I'm spending a lot of time hanging out at my alma mater, UMass Boston, trying to figure out how to use AI to accelerate learning and to accelerate people's move into their careers.
Thanks so much. So, I mean, we're going to get into questions of, if you're a parent, what do you need to know about AI and your school-age kid? We're going to talk about how is this changing business and really at the root of it, how is it changing education right now, and what do we need to do in New England to address these issues more? So I'm going to start with Grace, actually. I'm going to put you on the spot, but how are university presidents right now thinking about AI?
Yeah, well, thank you for that question, Greg. I think about the AI in three layers. The first layer, we absolutely need to provide our students with not only the AI fundamentals, but also the cutting edge knowledge and skills. And the second layer of this is what kind of AI pedagogy do we need? How AI will change how we teach, and also what kind of infrastructure do we need? So that's the second layer, the pedagogies and also the infrastructure. The third layer is probably the most important layer here, is how do we prepare our students for the future of this new AI era? And so think about this, as machine getting more and more intelligent, it's really elevating the importance of the human skills. And so how do we systematically and intentionally teach human skills? So at WPI, we have been doing this for 50 years, utilizing project-based learning. Our students work together in the real-world setting and work on the real projects and also in real teams. So they learn how to think critically, act ethically, solve problems, and communicate and work in a team, and ultimately lead. So what's important here is these human skills are no longer soft skills. there is nothing soft about that. These are essential skills. And so that's how I look at the AI. 3 layers. One is the AI education, the curriculum and degree programs. The second is pedagogy and infrastructure. And the third layer of this, how do we really teach the human skills intentionally and systematically?
Got it. Yeah, and we're going to get into some of these issues on the layers and on ethics front, but let me jump to Usama right now. Tell me a little bit about the approach of experiential AI happening at your institution.
Yeah, so experiential AI is our code word for AI with the human in the loop, and that's the only kind of AI that actually practically works today, where you get a lot of continuous guidance, course correction, and so forth as the AI is doing the work. Our approach, and this really derives from the ethos of Northeastern University, is to basically set our research agenda and our teaching methodology and approach to be very tied to solving real challenges in the real world. What this means, for example, is at the Institute, one of the first things we did is established what we call the AI Solutions Hub, which is an organization that engages with a lot of companies to source data and problems. Because in AI, at least, a lot of the interesting research in the past decade or so has happened in companies, not in universities, because the academics didn't have access to the data and the problems, and we need to fix that. So that's one bridge. Now that brings up 2 interesting areas. One is, how do you abstract the actual work on solving real problems into research problems that our research faculty and our research staff and our faculty in general can work on? And the second one is addressing one of the gaps in academia when it comes to graduating qualified graduates. I've been, running my own companies and being at some of the big companies. I've hired a lot of data scientists and a lot of AI practitioners in my time. And I say data scientists because most of AI today is really just machine learning and data science. When I hire somebody like that, they are typically fresh out from school. They're typically not very useful for the first couple of years. They need to unlearn all the bad habits of the sanitized classroom conditions, that it's not about hacking at data with an algorithm until you get an answer, that there's many other issues around it. So we take the solutioning activities and we use them to expose our students to what it takes to do AI in the real world and all the things you need to think about besides just the data and the algorithms to make the AI work. The hope there is that we will generate a generation of graduates who can contribute to the job day one.
I'm glad you bring up the real world problems and the hiring issue. So I want to jump to Paul right now. You're deep in the startup world. You're trying to hire the best people at all these different levels in industry. So I guess what are you seeing what are the biggest changes right now? And then what are you looking for in terms of AI skills?
When I'm hiring people, I got a resume recently from a young woman who, in her skills, listed ChatGPT. And I emailed her immediately and I said, did ChatGPT write your resume? And she said, yes, it did. And I thought that was wonderful. And I called her up and did an interview. I ended up not hiring her because she wanted to move to New York. But I think I want students to be using it all the time. I think if you have the Google app on your phone, I'd recommend you delete that app. I recommend you install apps from, ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, have multiple apps, and just be trying it all the time. And one of the nice things that students are finding at UMass is AI can teach you AI. You can say, how can I learn? Can I install a large language model on my laptop? What can I do differently? Can you quiz me about my biology assignment? And you can have discussions with the AI. And I want students, really in any school, become familiar with how you can use AI sort of on your shoulder as an aide who can help you and help you advance your thinking and advance your learning and keep you up to date with what else is happening in the classroom.
So let's talk about the then the bigger impact of all of this, which is one of them, which is overall competitiveness. And maybe you can talk about, Grace, on competitiveness of the region and of our workforce, like the role of AI in that.
Yeah, so I see this AI talent, of course, in the whole spectrum, right? So if you think about AI is absolutely changing the nature of the work and also the workplace. So not only we need to educate today's students with the cutting edge knowledge in AI and skills, but also the existing workforce. How do we make sure that we provide the resources and education opportunities to rescale and upscale? And beyond all that, to think about how do we prepare our K-12 students? Now, actually, they will learn how to use ChatGPT. You're right, and that's not the problem. But ChatGPT, that's arguably that's just using AI, right? I wouldn't call that AI skill set. I think what we need to really provide in the classroom is how do we use AI to empower or assist our teachers to be reduce the workload and spending more time with our students in the K-12. And a WPI faculty member, Professor Neil Hefnan, has created this platform called Assessments. And this AI platform can help the teachers. This has been tested actually by over 1 million K-12 students and also more than 30,000 K-12 teachers. It can help to increase the efficacy of the learning outcome of middle school math. And we all know that the middle school is a critical juncture in terms of making sure that we can maintain the students' interest in math and in STEM. So it's critically important that we use the AI tools in a positive way to help us in the classrooms and outside the classrooms. And also beyond all that, and think about the whole spectrum, right? Particularly here in our region and in our state, we need to think about how do we cultivate an environment to support the AI startups. And the startup companies, just think about Silicon Valley. The startups companies generate excitement, and they are absolutely a pool of talent. So once we have this talent hub and having this excitement, we will be the magnet of the AI talent pool, and that is the fundamental of economic competitiveness, is talent.
There are risks here, right? And things to be concerned about, things to frankly worry about. So Usama, I don't know, what are you saying kind of from where you sit? I guess what worries you about all this?
What worries me? So first of all, a lot of people are worried about kind of jobs going away and so forth. I actually don't think the problem is jobs going away. I think reskilling and upskilling is going to be needed. Lifelong learning is going to be necessary. But I do think that when all is said and done, just like many other waves of technological revolutions, will create many more jobs than we replace. I'm also not worried about AIs becoming too smart. I mean, some people I really respect have this worry that a super intelligence is going to make us obsolete. Very far from it, and in the current direction of at least the technology of today, that's very far off. However, here's what I would worry about. We live in a world that's increasingly digital, right? You use your phone to navigate, to communicate, to chat, to do emails, to do almost everything in life. What happens in a world where the ability to generate false information, misinformation, becomes super easy, right? So today, for example, I could work on something that would generate a bunch of bad articles about Grace, God forbid, but then I could support it by creating a whole bunch of websites that actually document this and support it. Then I will create armies of robots who are followers and commenters and all of that. When somebody lands on that piece of information and they try to do their due diligence and research, they'll quickly find, all these sources are saying the same thing and different angles on it and all that, all enabled by AI, including pictures, including videos, including sound recordings, because I can replicate her voice and all of that. What happens in a world where you get completely disoriented And everything you trust, you can no longer trust.
Yeah.
Anything you see online or on your device can no longer be trusted. People are getting, fraudulent calls from their bosses in the voice of the boss asking them to do something. What do you do, right? So that is the real danger here, is we have a technology that enables enables the bad actors to do a lot of bad stuff. And that is the world I worry about. Now, in terms of from a jobs perspective and so forth, I'll just add one comment to what Grace said before on competitiveness. Our President Aoun at the university at Northeastern, wrote a book about 7 years ago called Robot Proof, Higher Education in the Age of Artificial Intelligence. In a way, he was definitely ahead of the times. Actually, he just issued the second edition, I just learned. That concept of robot proof, I think, codes everything we need to know about how to prepare our workforce, our learners, and the existing employees to kind of make sure they can prosper not against a growing AI threat, but actually because they know how to leverage AI to deliver higher value and so forth. And I think that's the real interesting challenge here.
So Paul, does any of this concern you? And I want to throw in a question from the audience that has come in, which, basically, do you have concerns about trusting AI too much when you're advising students and people whose resumes you're getting to use it all the time? Is that a concern?
I think your sources are going to be very important. So each person needs to pick the websites that they trust. Maybe the Boston Globe, who has a really strong editorial team. And if they see something on YouTube, maybe they question it. Is this a fake video of Kamala Harris that someone's created as a deep fake? But maybe on the Boston Globe, because the editorial team, you might trust that a little bit more. I think now that AI is moving into the phones, the phone OS is going to have some responsibility about letting you know which sources are authentic, which ones are not. I think one of the big problems I see in AI with large language models specifically is the problem of hallucination. They basically make stuff up a lot, and you have to know when to trust them and when not to trust them. AI and large language models need to learn how to be transparent so they can show you where they got their information from, so the AI can sort of justify its own reasoning.
Can I just throw this back to you, just like a bigger issue that people might worry? Are you worried about humanity here? Is this going to be a good thing in the end for us?
I think it's going to be a great thing for us. I think it's going to impact every aspect of our lives. I think life extension is going to happen in large part due to AI. Drug discovery is being aided greatly today with machine learning and data science. I think that diagnostic is changing. The earlier you get diagnosed, the better chance you have with whatever your illness and condition is. Think about a world where a nursing student at UMass Boston partnered with AI has better diagnostic skills than a professor at Harvard Medical School. That's coming. That's coming like this year. The world's going to change in every vertical.
So Grace, how do you address the ethics and how do you teach responsibility? And I know all of you think about this.
So that's why the ethics and also socially responsible AI, that education has to be fully integrated into the AI education. So a colleague of mine a few years ago asked me and saying, hey, do you think AI is ready to be a degree program? I have to say 10 years ago, no. Today, absolutely. Just because there are key components is absolutely related to the AI. And we just launched the AI master degree program at WPI. And what's unique about that is, of course, everybody teach AI knowledge and teach AI cutting edge knowledge and skills. But actually, we have an industry-driven and sponsored project-based learning embedded in our degree program. So every student has to go through that. And so the reason of that is, actually, we just talked about that. You think about this. Today's AI, if you think about the ethics, it's not only understanding the ethical thinking, the privacy, or actually the social responsibilities. We absolutely need to understand how to, using the AI knowledge, the tools, the techniques, and also, most importantly, the critical thinking to validate the information, to identify the bias and identify the potential issues. So these are no longer just really ethical and social responsible AI as a discussion or as an afterthought. It needs to be fully integrated into the curriculum, into everything we do, into that degree program, and also in the real world example, real world project, in the real world setting, so the students know how to make those judgments. In the day one, they go to the job, they understand this is important. Yeah.
So let me jump ahead. Let's imagine it's 5 years from now, and I want to ask each of you, like, is there something, a prediction or something about the world of AI in education that maybe we're not thinking about right now or we wouldn't expect? And maybe I'd put Usama on the spot first. Like, what does the AI in education look like at that point?
Well, I think, look, out of necessity, we need to embrace AI as a tool. It can do a lot of the tasks that we spend a lot of energy kind of teaching our students on how to do, and that's probably not where the energy needs to go. This is, very akin to the old days. In engineering, I'm an engineer, there used to be this thing called the slide rule, and you had to learn how to use the slide rule. Then the calculators came, then the computers came, completely changed that. Then the internet came and completely changed that. You cannot focus your energy on teaching the skills that don't make sense. But there's a lot of additional skills now that need to be taught in terms of how do you leverage this technology and how do you use it properly. What Paul was saying in terms of use it every day, right? Make it a habit. That intuitive knowledge of where does this stuff work, where does it not work. You refer to it as hallucination. We actually don't like that term because it attributes too much intelligence to this autocomplete tool. We call it errors. These things will make errors. Where do they make these errors? What are their weaknesses? What are their strengths? How do I use them properly? How do I get them focused on the areas I want them focused on, and then add a lot of value on top by having them do all of this grunt work that I don't want to do? What was the old adage here? When the world used Roman numerals, it was the equivalent of a master's degree to learn how to do multiplication in Roman numerals. It's so complex, right? We changed the representation. We got kind of the new decimal system, and that made things like this trivial, right? Yeah. The same thing is happening now because we created this knowledge economy that is rife with robotic, repetitive, droning tasks that actually humans shouldn't be doing. We should be leveraging this technology to get them done, and we should operate at a higher level. So that is, I think, what the education of tomorrow would look like. At Northeastern, what this means, we have several initiatives. We're looking at how do we embed AI into all the courses? How do we enable our researchers to leverage AI to do research faster, better, more accurately? How do we embed our educators into using AI and accepting it? And that's probably, I was discussing with Grace, that's probably the biggest challenge, is the culture of how do we get our faculty to kind of embrace versus resist, because you have to embrace quickly. And then the last one is, how do you get AI to help with the operations of the university as a business? So all of these come together. I think it's actually happening at a much shorter time frame than ever before, precisely because a lot of these tasks this time around happen to be well matched to these generative AI models being able to contribute to them right away. So we'll see a faster transformation than previous technology transformations.
Yeah. Got it. Exactly. So Paul, other than people deleting Google off their phones and trying all these different kinds of AI systems, what's surprising 5 years from now?
What has surprised me?
What will be surprising 5 years?
What will be surprising? I think it's going to be massive productivity gains across every industry. I think the economy will do quite well. I think the stock market will do quite well. People will be able to create billion-dollar companies with 3 people. It's going to be very easy to create technology in the future compared to what is involved now. You won't have to raise as much venture capital. I think people are going to be working less hours because they're going to be much more productive. So I think the 4-day work week is coming. I think people will travel more. I believe that there'll be job shifts. More people will work in healthcare. because, for example, I think the #1 job in the US right now is truck driver. I think 5 years from now, probably, but certainly 10 years from now, a lot of those trucks are going to be self-driving, so those truck drivers are going to have to be retrained to work in other industries, like healthcare, for example. And I think overall, it's going to be a big productivity boon for the economy.
You have to be optimistic, I feel like. I mean, there's so many things that could go wrong, but like you say, it's such an opportunity as well. I want to maybe close with some higher level, I don't know if it's advice or tips, but I'm thinking about parents of kids who are applying to school. Like, is there something they need to know right now about this?
Well, the world has always been changing. I started my career in Silicon Valley, and my laptop had 30 gigabytes hard disk drive, and I remember I think that was super cool, and that was so advanced, and it's nothing today, right? So the technology will continue to move rapidly, and the chance is today's students, throughout their career, absolutely they will be doing some kind of jobs that have not yet been invented. And there is really just that much we can teach about leading edge technologies and skills. The most important thing is we need to prepare our students with the human skills. They need to learn how to learn. They need to learn how to think critically, validate the knowledge, and act ethically, know how to communicate effectively, and also at the high level, connecting the dots, knowing the computational thinking, the ethical thinking, and that's how they're going to lead the world forward for us. And that's how we need to, when the parents and students look at education, I highly suggest them to think about what programs and what kind of skill sets can prepare the students for the future.
Very good. Well, we have a question from the audience that I want to maybe also just contextualize. This question is basically, is there a danger, or what's the danger that AI does so much for us that the next generation or even us basically lose the skills that we have today? I mean, anyone who has kids who are just on the screens constantly doing video games and can't make themselves a sandwich.
Look, I mean, I'll comment quickly. Every generation thinks the next generation has it wrong and all of that.
But this time we were right.
No, I actually think an example I use all the time is the accounting of 60 years ago. What did you need to know to be a good accountant 60 years ago? What are the skills? Well, you had to use these big ledgers. You had to have nice handwriting. You had to have good addition skills. And you had to have infinite patience, because if you made an error, God help you, it'll take months to find where the error was. Today, all of that is irrelevant. It's all coded up in software. Do we have less or more accountants today than we have had 60 years ago? We have more accountants today than in the history of human civilization, because we democratized the function. And we elevated its value. It's relevant to smaller organizations, to departments, and so forth. I think that's the picture we'll be in, and I think that the robot-proof codes it all. How do we learn to be robot-proof is the key here.
Well, thanks so much. I want to thank the panel and invite up a closing comment from UMass Boston.
So as we bring this enlightening panel to a close, I want to express my profound gratitude to the Boston Globe, our moderator, Greg Huang, and our esteemed panelists, Paul English, Greg Wang, and Usama Fayyad, for their invaluable insights into the AI ecosystem in Massachusetts. This discussion has highlighted the indispensable roles of education and accessibility in ensuring that AI's benefits reach every individual. And thanks to the visionary support of Paul English, UMass Boston is dedicated to democratize access to AI education, preparing our students to excel in and shape the increasingly AI-powered landscape. Together, let's continue to harness AI's transformative power to craft a more inclusive and bright future. I look forward to furthering our dialogue and collaboration in the days ahead. Thank you, everyone, for a stimulating discussion.